Hey everyone, welcome back to Papa's Workshop. Are you ready for Halloween? Do you have those yard decorations out there? Well, now's the time to get them up. Today, we're making this jack-o'-lantern to be able to put into your yard. Super easy, no special tools. Anybody can do this one. All you need is to find some fence slats. Now these are pressure treated, but you can use cedar. You can use some old ones that you have from an old fence. It doesn't really matter. You can use just about any material that you want to be able to create this design. But once you have the material, go ahead and lay this out on your workbench and sketch out with a pencil the design that you want. Now I know this pencil line's hard to see, so I want to go back and put a marker on it so you could see exactly what this project was going to look like. And this is all just hand drawn, nothing fancy, no special tools, and really all you need is the pencil. You don't need this marker, but for you to be able to see it, had to have the marker. And once you have it all sketched out and you're happy with the design, it's time to take it to the bandsaw. Now, of course, if you don't have a bandsaw, that's okay too. You can use a jigsaw, you can use a handsaw, you can use just about anything that you have available around your house to be able to cut this out. Now, I'm going to start off with the bandsaw and I'm going to switch over to the jigsaw in just a few moments so that you can see that this is just as easy using either one of the tools. It's really not necessary, but just to make it a little bit easier, I numbered each of these 5 parts. That way, as I was cutting them out and working with the different components, they didn't get mixed up. And it saved time from having to go back and see which part goes where. Now granted, on a piece like this where there's really only 5, it's not really that necessary, but it is just force of habit that I always label the parts. Back at the workbench, I want to grab the jigsaw and get this part cut out for you. Now again, I can do this with a handsaw. I can use this jigsaw as I'm doing here. Or of course, I could stay with the bandsaw. Yeah, the choice is really up to you. Bottom line, it really depends on the tools that you have in your shop and what you feel comfortable with. The centerpiece of this jack-o'-lantern was the most fun to be able to cut out because you had parts of both of the eyes to be able to cut out, and you had the nose as well as part of the mouth. What's interesting is the bottom part of this actually gets cut off, so you have to be able to save that part. So even though we started off with 5, we ended up with 6, because that bottom part gets cut away because of the mouth. No jack-o'-lantern is complete without having the stem on top. Now when I first sketched this out, it was too small, and I had to make it larger. And that's, again, not a big deal. You just play with that design until you find something that you like, and then you can cut it out. Now it's time to cut out the nose. The easiest way, because this is in the center of the board, is just drill some holes in the corner. Now quite frankly, only one hole is really necessary, but I have found that it's oftentimes easier to be able to drill a hole in each of the corners. It makes maneuvering that jigsaw just a little bit easier as you come into those tight corners to be able to cut out this triangle for the nose. And once you have the holes drilled, the jigsaw blade drops right down inside of that hole very easily, and then you can safely cut out this center part and create your nose for your jack-o'-lantern. After just a couple minutes of cutting out this nose, it's all finished, and I now have a nose for my jack-o'-lantern. I'm going to continue working on the mouth at this point, and this will be the last part that needs to get cut out. And there we have a jack-o'-lantern. All of the parts are cut out. The only thing I can do now is just align everything up just to make sure that it looks good, and I know it will. But you can see my jack-o'-lantern is beginning to take shape. The next step is to take it outside, and we've got to make it orange. So let's spray paint this a nice bright orange for this jack-o'-lantern. I really like how this is turning out. I'm excited to be able to get this finished. I think the grandkids are going to absolutely love this project. Before I take it outside and spray paint everything orange, I have to protect this stem. I want this stem to be green. The easiest way is just simply take a scrap piece of paper and mask it off, and that will take care of it. Again, nothing fancy about this. The masking that I'm using is just literally a piece of notebook paper. It does not have to be fancy. This whole project is all about how simple that you can possibly make this project in your home without any special tools at all. In fact, this is a great project to be able to do with the kids. Get them involved and start teaching them woodworking at an early age, and maybe they'll grow up doing the same type of thing, enjoying making these types of projects. Time to be outside and get everything spray painted orange. I'm just using the Rust-Oleum orange color, nothing fancy again. This is just one of the cans of spray paint that I had in the shop. The nice thing about a project like this, you really only need one coat. The important thing is I do want to have a good coverage on this one coat because I'm not going to come back for a second. I do want to take the time to catch all the edges and make sure that I have good coverage. That's really the only thing that's important. If you do have a little bit of spot that's light, that's really okay. In fact, this is the time you can get the kids to actually spray paint it. The last project that I did with the grandkids, I had my granddaughter out spray painting the project and she did a great job. To paint this green stem, same thing. Just took a little sheet of notebook paper and I used that as the masking, and then I was able to spray it green. Real simple, real easy to be able to do. Doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to have coverage and look good. And if you get a little green overspray onto the jack-o'-lantern, no big deal. Just mask it off and touch it up with a little bit of orange. Time to let this dry. And the real question was, what do we do with the cutouts? Do we make them where they just stay clear and you can see through them? Or do we put a little backboard in there to make them black? Well, problem solved. We decided to make them black, and I cut out the different pieces and spray painted that black, and that is going to serve two purposes. It's going to give support for these 5 slats and be able to show the black cutouts for the different parts, the eyes, nose, and the mouth. I have this flipped over now on the back side. I went ahead and put spacers in here. Now this is something that's not required, but if you want to put spacers in, by all means do so. That will keep those lines just as straight as you can. Now as soon as that black paint dries, we're ready to nail these and glue them on. Okay, the paint's all dry. I've laid them out in position exactly where they need to be. I'm going to be using a Tight Bond 3, which is a waterproof glue, and that will help to ensure that these stay in place for a long time. Now, in addition, I am using some staples, using 1-inch staples to be able to secure this also. I think it's important to be able to use both because this is going to be outdoors. Now, these slats, of course, serve two purposes. One, for the color itself so that you can see the eyes, nose, and the mouth. But more importantly, quite frankly, these slats actually tie the whole entire jack-o'-lantern together. Now it's very important to note, make sure that you put the glue and the staples where it actually holds something. You don't want the glue or those staples in the opening, because then you'd be having to dig those out and that would not be fun at all. Now keep in mind, if you don't have a nail gun, that is not a big deal. You can use little small 1-inch nails and hammer them in just fine. It just takes a little bit longer than doing it with the nail gun. Now you notice also I'm using the spacers. Yeah, that's the OCD in me. I want to make sure that that spacing is just right. Again, you don't have to do that. You can just eyeball it and it'll come out just fine. Just remember, take one board at a time and don't get in a rush. I'm removing the spacers. I'm going to flip this over and see just what I've got. And looks like I did miss a couple places with the glue. Not a big deal. I'll just wipe off that excess and that's it. There are many different ways to be able to stand this sign up in the yard. What I've chosen to do is use 2 pieces of 1/4-inch rebar. Now, to be able to make that work, I needed a 3/4-inch piece of PVC pipe. You can cut it whatever length that you want, and then I'll just have these 2 little clamps on each of the pipes. And then that way, that rebar will slide right down into the ground and just tap it in with a hammer. Very simple, very easy, and very strong. Now this rebar is 1 foot long, and this is just some old rebar that I had laying around the shop. But if you don't have anything like this, it's very inexpensive to pick some up at any of the big box stores or the hardware stores. And the same thing applies for the PVC pipe. Usually the hardware stores will sell this in 2-foot lengths just for small projects like this. It's all finished now and ready to go into the yard. Let's go and install this and See what it looks like. I think the grandkids are going to be excited. I think this is going to be a perfect location. It's on the front of the house, near the front door, and the grandkids will be able to see it when they first get home from school today. Now, to be able to install this, I'm taking the hammer and I'm going to put the first piece of rebar in the ground. Don't need to have the jack-o'-lantern in place at this point. Now, it'll just slip over that PVC pipe and I don't have to worry about the alignment. Just drop it right down, and quite frankly, one would have probably held just fine. But then I drop in that second piece and I take the hammer and tap it in. The installation is very simple, very straightforward, and this will hold it just fine throughout the whole entire season. Thanks a lot for watching this video today. I hope you had a lot of fun and learned a few things and realized that you can do this very easily at your house with the most basic tools. It doesn't take a lot of money, time, or tools to be able to do this. I hope that you take the opportunity to sketch out a jack-o'-lantern or any type of decoration that you want to put in the yard and cut it out. So again, I want to thank you for watching. I appreciate you stopping by and spending some time in the shop today. And I especially want to thank the Patreons who support this channel. Every dime that I get from the Patreons go right back into this channel to be able to bring you videos such as this. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next video. So for now, bye-bye.